AEC industry is rapidly changing, but your team doesn't have time to reinvent workflows for every new technology or client demand. ProjectWise, powered by iTwin, puts you in control and positions your firm for non-disruptive change. Whether you need to improve design quality, optimize existing processes, or even get started with digital delivery and digital twins, ProjectWise enables you to make the most of what you already have without starting over. Visit go.bentley.com/podcast to see how ProjectWise is empowering AEC firms to do more with less. Once again, that's go.bentley.com/podcast to learn more. Engineering Influence, a podcast from the American Council of Engineering Companies, brought to you by Bentley Systems and their ProjectWise suite of software. And today we're going to be talking about ProjectWise with Bentley Systems, especially focusing in on their ProjectWise Component Center. And to do that, I'm very pleased to welcome to the program Danielle Manning, who's a senior project manager with Bentley Systems, to talk about ProjectWise Component Center. And really, just to kick it off, Danielle, welcome to the program. And what is exactly a digital component management solution?
Oh, okay. Thanks, Jeff. I'm really excited to be here. So basically, a component management solution is really a typical centralized library providing our designers with a comprehensive source of organizational and project components. And they're doing this while maintaining that metadata and the file-based information associated with these components. So we find using a component management solution, our designers can quickly find the right components for the design, reducing time and effort needed to search for these components.
I sympathize with the need for engineers to be able to do this, especially with more digital delivery and the use of digital modeling, given the work that we do here in the communications office with so many components that are digital on their own right, and trying to manage and create workflows and making sure you can get the asset that you need at the time that you need it. You're not searching for something and trying to figure it out during the editing process. It seems as our lives are getting more digital. We're getting more content, more assets that we have to manage, control, file, organize. And, I would imagine that increased use of digital delivery is pushing things. But what other factors are contributing to the widespread use of these component libraries?
Yeah, from our perspective, there seems to be a few really key drivers, including financial constraints that many organizations are currently facing. So mitigate these pressures, cost reductions are necessary wherever is possible. Additionally, we find there's a growing need to minimize risk in projects, which is where standardization, the high quality components can prove beneficial at a foundational level. Lastly, more and more organizations are recognizing the potential savings that can be achieved through the create once, reuse many times approach, right? Why reinvent the wheel when you can simply access a proven design from a central library?
Yeah, especially when you're dealing with components that are used across designs. They're not specific or designed specifically for one component that cannot be reused. Why go and reinvent the wheel, waste that time when you can have an asset that's up there, can be applied to multiple designs and shared? I would imagine also shared across the firm and departments so that other projects can grab those assets and use them as well, right?
Yeah, exactly. So ProjectWise Component Center really is set up in an organizational context. So it's really a library of all of your best work in one organizational library. Now, you have the ability to share that across your project. So if you're collaborating with other organizations, you can say, hey, I'm curating and managing your content for you. Use these in design. That's our best work, right? So we really find that very beneficial.
Now, when it comes to component reuse, you mentioned the fact that all the digital assets that you have on the component center have all the metadata attached to it. So can you also track how many times that one asset's been used across platforms and kind of where that asset has been used in designs throughout project teams in the firm?
Yeah, absolutely. So we have our components analytics, which basically is a who did what and where, right? So that can track how many times a component was loaded, opened, placed, uploaded in design. And you can see exactly who did it and in what projects. So you'll know really what components are being used.
ProjectWise, powered by iTwin, is the product that Bentley offers. And within that program, there's a component center module. So, Danielle, how does the component center address the challenges firms are trying to solve with ProjectWise?
Right. So really with ProjectWise, we're working on sort of your digital transformation journey with ProjectWise, which is powered by iTwin. So under the ProjectWise umbrella, we offer portfolio intelligence. So really ProjectWise Component Center, what we offer in our solution is it's twofold, right? It's a cloud-based digital component library and catalog management service. And then we also offer the direct design application integration. So not only do we integrate with the Bentley Connect products, MicroStation, OpenRail, we also have third-party integrations. So what we really are aiming is we want organizations to manage and distribute their digital components across, like we had said earlier, organizations and their projects. And then we find with that centralized source of those digital components, these project teams can ensure quality and consistency and really speed the design process with the component reuse. So that's really what our product does under the ProjectWise umbrella.
Got it. So that's a one-stop shop really for your project lifecycle that connects through all the other products that you would use through Bentley systems and allows that management of all the digital assets that you would have within those projects being run through the Bentley programs into one place, essentially.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. And really, I mean, in a project delivery standpoint, I mean, really, what we're trying to drive is what I mentioned earlier is that component reuse. So really what it is it's the practice of reusing your components from previous designs into new designs, right? So this saves the designers, like you mentioned earlier, even in your line of work, right? Time and effort by leveraging all that data you already have, reducing the design cycle cost. So once again, it helps with that consistency and that quality across the designs, and they can use those proven components that have already been used.
Really, I mean, I can tell from my own experience just on the creative side with dealing with so many assets that we create, graphics, videos, images, the like. For anyone out there who has not used this kind of a system that creates this ecosystem of content that allows you to track, manage, share, and kind of just get a handle of where all your content is, it truly is a massive time saving because, like you said earlier, you don't have to reinvent the wheel. You don't have to go back and say, listen, I can't find this one item. Am I going to have to redevelop it? Am I going to have to build it again? Or can I find it somewhere? And having a solution like this that can categorize, manage, track these digital assets really across teams allows so much more just on-demand time savings than you could ever consider in the past, where you'd have to deal with these massive storage and file management systems. Something like this really makes things easy. What are some best practices that you've seen for firms using Component Center in the delivery of their projects?
Yeah. So, I mean, some of the best practices, every organization does it differently, and our service is file agnostic. So we don't really care what you put in the service. I mean, we've seen, obviously, it works very well with your typical design files such as DGNs, RFAs. But if you want to put in a PowerPoint, a video, it doesn't really matter. So, but first and foremost, I think the most important thing is, and I think you would agree, is probably the designation of an administrator, right?
Absolutely.
So that you want to
Yeah.
make sure that your library is fully managed. So that administrator can facilitate consistency, organization, and maintenance. And they also can really provide that training and support to help increase adoption and verify that all your users are aware of the benefit and features. Also, I think in the same way, it's important to have that dedicated administrator. I think it's important to have a structure, right? So you could classify your content by your discipline, manufacturer, or even by the project name. So it really, having really a well-built and categorized content really helps the users filter or search for components and builds more confidence in the library and the content, right? So the idea is that you store all this content, but if you don't have it organized, then you just have maybe 50,000 components. And when you're in design, you're looking for that one, flag or light post, and then you're not quite sure, what the best one to use is, right?
Yeah, exactly. Have you found within firms that they actually have within their own project teams, whether a project manager or someone else who's assigned to a project, being that administrator function, or are you seeing firms within IT or their operations department having someone who's specifically tasked with being the firm's kind of asset controller or the manager? What's your experience been?
I think it's a mix of both. I mean, every organization is different. Some, you have your BIM lead that are taking on this effort, and they sort of rally the troops and sort of develop and centralize the components, based on some structure. And really, I mean, the way the library benefits everybody is so that cross-discipline teams and geolocated offices, and it's really a single access point for all. Now, you do have some IT departments, have it and they set it up, but really it's based upon who's going to be the lead of that project. And that's why I think one of the best practices is really to have somebody that's going to be the cheerleader or the champion, we would call it, and say, hey, let's pilot it, let's test it out. And then through our component analytics, realize the value of it, saving time. If you know that you placed a component, just say 100 times in multiple design projects, right? You don't have that person over the cube or in the next office recreating the same thing, which might take them 15, 20, 30, 45 minutes, depending upon the complexity of that actual object, right?
Yeah.
So it's really such a time saver because you know the health of your components. You know how many times it's been used. And ultimately, you can turn that into any Formula One on cost savings, right? Yeah. You're not having people, actually recreating all this content when it's already available.
What would you say is the big differentiator between ProjectWise and its competitors?
Well, I mean, just around Component Center in general, which I'm the product manager of, I would say our competitors aren't really focused on Bentley Systems products, right? So we work very well, and I don't, we work very well with our own design applications. So we know how to handle the integrations with MicroStation and OpenRail and OpenRoads. So I think really what stands out from the rest is we understand Bentley products and we understand how to work with Bentley products. So that's a great, feather in our cap that we have that ability when a lot of our competitors out there are dealing with basically other, Autodesk file formats but we really have the knowledge and to work with Bentley products. And I think that really is a huge benefit for us. And a lot of firms are working with multiple, companies and multiple design applications. But I think really, for using our ProjectWise Component Center, it's really a fabulous solution for any file format and any integration.
Yeah, that is a big positive. I mean, interoperability with other programs and making sure that the files work. I mean, that's a huge thing. And the fact that, as you mentioned, that you could put anything really up there as far as your file agnostic. So you could put all the BIM data, all the individual item asset data up there, but then you could also put up a PowerPoint. You could put up something that's project focused, then you could actually have that entire focus there, or that project up on Component Center. So you kind of have the whole life cycle.
Right. Absolutely. We try to say like ProjectWise Component Center is a solution of choice because of a couple things: interoperability, functionality, accessibility, adaptability, and usability. And that's a lot of abilities, right? But really, it really is designed for that seamless interoperability. Like you said, you can share content rapidly across multiple organizations, different design applications, and different disciplines, regardless of file type. Like we said, file agnostic. And then we prioritize that functionality because we work with our accounts. We think it's easy to manage and it's really tailored to meet specific user needs and problems. We go out there and say, what is your problem? I don't try to jam a solution down their throat. I want to hear them. I want to listen to them and understand what is your problem and how can we solve it? I'm not I want to make sure that is addressed. I'm not building it for me. I'm building it for organizations and users. And Component Center really is accessible to users worldwide. So you can use multiple authoring applications. And we're trying to be adaptable, right? So we try to accommodate industry changes and client requirements while ensuring the scalability, really. And we think our service is really user-friendly. It's intuitive. It's simple to use. And we really promote the widespread adoption of organizational's digital libraries. I mean, it's easy to set up. It's not hard. You go and you add some permissions and roles, and then you go in and you start adding your content one by one. We support multi-file upload. It's really how an organization wants to set up, and we really pride ourselves on it being a simple service with a lot of I guess you would say like punch to pack or pack to punch.
Yeah. Well, yeah, maybe it's my internal OCD, but there's nothing more beautiful than an organized file tree where you know where everything
I agree.
is, right? There's just something
Exactly.
something calming and soothing about the fact that I can open something up and see everything exactly where it needs to be, right? And to know and have that extra power of knowing how it's being used and where, and having that additional intelligence, because we've been talking to people from the fall conference off and on about technology, the firm of the future, where things are going. And no matter what we're talking about, it could be machine learning, it could be BIM, it could be just AI, it could be everything. But the common denominator is the fact that the engineering firm of the future is going to be digital. And right. The way that people are going to be working, it's going to be digital. And it's going to increasingly become more focused on assets in a digital environment that are being manipulated and used in different ways. And it is essential that a firm kind of takes control over how those files are being managed, organized, and applied. So getting a product like this in place is the kind of thing that is critically important, so you stay ahead of the curve. And
a lot of our organizations, when I go to them, I said, well, why do you want a digital content management solution? They say, well, at the end of the day, you have, people leave leave an organization and all that great content's lost. People manage it on their C drives. They're trying to manage it in SharePoint, which none of that's wrong. But at the end of the day, if you can compile all of your best work into one place, now you come up with a great naming convention, you can tag your content. We give you dynamic filtering and dynamic searching, all the things you would expect out of a content management solution, right? And then you can go directly in MicroStation. You can hit place a component. You do a quick search, all of a sudden it's there, you place it, and then you're done. Yeah. Right? You don't have to worry about recreating something. And I think it saves a lot of time and resources, and people are really embracing the fact that nobody likes change, right? Mm-hmm. I think, a lot of people talk about it's the people, process, and technology. So when you introduce something, everybody knows it's a really great idea. It's not hard to wrap your head. It's an easy button moment, right? Like, boom, I can store everything in one location. And I find our organizations, once they get started, are really finding, it's really, they're overcoming certain challenges and they're really delivering efficiency and standardization.
Yeah, it goes to show it's you can always bootstrap a solution and you're kind of piecemealing it together. But when you use something that's actually designed specifically for what you're trying to accomplish, it's a completely different experience, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So to take a look at ProjectWise, I invite everyone to go to go.bentley.com/podcast. That's kind of the direct link over to ProjectWise, powered by iTwin, and learn about it as well as Component Center. And Danielle, I really do appreciate you're coming on the program and explaining this. Is there anything else that you want to add in here before we wrap up?
Yeah, I mean, just a little bit of feedback from our accounts. So what our accounts and many other infrastructure firms have shared with us is they really see improved productivity. They see the reduced cost, increased consistency and standardization of their components. And really, what's really a great one is that strengthened teamwork in project delivery. So I'm really thankful to have the opportunity to talk about ProjectWise Component Center with you, Jeff. It's been great. And certainly you can go visit the website for any additional information.
Fantastic. That's a great way to wrap it all up. And Danielle, thank you again for taking the time on this Wednesday. And again, this has been Engineering Influence, a podcast from the American Council of Engineering Companies, brought to you by Bentley Systems. And we will see you next time.